scientific process in place, whether it is loan appraisal, a payment process, an IT process. There must be a well-structured process to guide that, and which is informed by either past experience or established traditions as far as that process is concerned. And we also noted that the aspect of systems and people. We say that people is a very critical component of any process, of any operational risk exposure in an institution. Whether it is people within the SACCO's people, the staff, the board of directors, the members of the SACCO, and then also people from outside. Because SACCOs are sometimes hit by fraudsters from outside the SACCO system. If you've not structured your systems appropriately. And then, of course, we also highlighted external events, which are endogenous events, which do not directly have a bearing on the SACCO, but they are likely to influence the market within which the SACCO is operating. So those were the 4 critical aspects of operational risks: process, system, people, and external events. Now, I want to briefly revisit reputational risk, and then we go to business continuity management, and then have an open plenary session where we can generally discuss aspects of risks and what we need to do in our SACCOs. We said that when we talk about operational risk, all the other risks which we highlighted, be it operational risks, credit risk, liquidity risk, governance risk, strategic risks, political risks, all mention any form or type of risk. They have a bearing on the SACCO's reputation. So, what is reputational risk, and what do we need to do as far as reputational risk is concerned? And to start on that, and to mention one billionaire who is Warren Buffett, the chairman and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, one of the richest people in this world. He says that it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. 20 years, it takes tens and or hundreds of years to build a reputation. For us to have built the reputation of some of the SACCOs represented in this particular forum, you've taken time, you've taken sweat. So those of us who have been in this for long, it's not a walk in the park. We took time to build that reputation, and you need to imagine that without you having a proper reputational risk management framework, it can be ruined in a single second. By a simple tweet, by a simple text message, by a simple WhatsApp forward, that can be ruined, or you can lose billions of shillings. And I know, being in this market, I have seen situations of where banks or SACCOs lose thousands, millions or billions of withdrawals within a very short period in time, because that institution did not have a reputational risk management framework. And when I talk about a reputational risk management framework, you didn't have a structured formal mechanism on how you need to protect your name. Unangoja tu vitu ifanyike alafu tuanze kukimbia left, right and center. Like, what do we do? What you have meetings, and because you don't have a proper structured mechanism on how you're going to manage reputational risk. And that is what we want to manage here, because we have said that for financial institutions, banks, SACCOs, all these financial institutions, reputation is very critical. And by the way, for you to be a multi-billion SACCO where you've reached, it wasn't a walk in the park. It wasn't a walk in the park. And that can be ruined within a short period of time because of negative perception, which has been ruined either by exogenous or endogenous factors. What you did internally within the SACCO, maybe you mismanaged operational risk, or you mismanaged credit risk, or other factors outside the SACCO. What I refer to as systemic risk. You realize that your SACCO is experiencing uncalled for reputational damage, which is driven by factors which you has no bearing within your SACCO governance structures. You didn't have a play on it. You didn't have a context to do with that risk, but it is impacting you. What I call systemic risk. When it drives across the industry. Some of us, you will be managing, exercising your governance responsibilities as far as your SACCO is concerned. Then you realize that there is all of a sudden negative perception in the industry, which is driving your business to the negative side. So how do we respond, or how do we manage reputational risk? And we say that reputation can be your SACCO's biggest asset, if you manage it well, and you can use it to drive reputation. In sociology, reputation is what we call prestige. In accountancy, we call it goodwill, or in accountancy and law. But in commerce or in a Sacco environment, we call it reputation. The brand which drives you and which drives your numbers. As such, we say that all aspects of risks which the Sacco is exposed to will also always have a bearing on your reputation. So, other than trying to create a communication strategy or a reputational risk management framework, the measures you put in place to manage your liquidity risks, ensure that at all given time, however much you try to praise or to manage your communication, if you've not managed your liquidity risk and it is at the right point at all given point in time, it will be like carrying water in a basket. It will be leaking from all directions, and trying to protect that might be a bit difficult. So as such, you need to manage all these other risk exposures so that it has a bearing on your enterprise business and reputation risk. So we say that there are two sources of reputation risk. For us to have a framework of reputation risk management, you need to know that there are endogenous sources and exogenous sources. When I talk about endogenous sources, I'm referring to the things within your circle. And this is where communication comes in. That, do you have a communication strategy? Do you have a communication strategy? Maybe by a show of hands. How many of us here, within our circles, do have a Twitter handle? Do have a Twitter handle? As a Sacco, that maybe XYZ Sacco Twitter handle. Jumnaona hiyo ni upuzi. Yeah? Leaders, go and have a Twitter handle or a Facebook page. In the past, we used to see those as useless things for youth, for Gen Zs. That is where reputation is coming. I will tell you with a mark of confidence that to a larger extent, most of our circles' reputation has been negatively impacted by social media perceptions or miscommunications, which we don't have a communication strategy to counter them. Am I lying or that's the truth? Am I lying? And if you want to know how people are jealous about protecting their reputation, for those of us who have a Twitter handle, just pick your phone and write a negative message about Mike Sonko. We all know Mike Sonko? You all know Mike Sonko? You will see the number of people responding to you. They'll be in their hundreds. Some will be abusing you, some will be dismissing you, some will be praising him, and you think that, hey, so Sonko is this much loved. Because Sonko, an individual, has a communication strategy to manage their reputation. And then Mwalimu National, a multi-billion. So, Twitter handle? Oh, okay. But we all are, like 99% of us here don't have a Twitter handle because they believe that is for Gen Zs. We believe that is for Gen Zs. So that's what we are saying here. That please appreciate who your stakeholders are and create a reputation management strategy. Example of social media. Look at Donald Trump. He didn't use any aspect of legacy or mainstream media to brand himself. He just needed to befriend Elon Musk and his Twitter handles. And that was it. So, and that is what the challenge I'm giving us as Sacco, as SACCOs. That let us become proactive. Reflect on the current mechanisms. Not necessarily going to put an advert on a newspaper or to, and I'm not saying that that is bad, that is also good, but look at the reach of your members or the reach of the wider public, which mechanisms, not only legacy media, can reach them and create a mechanism through which you can communicate to your membership. Then, of course, the other aspect of reputation risk management framework which you need to have is that analyze the severity of the reputation risk exposures and respond. Analyze the severity of reputation risk exposures and put in place mitigation or response mechanisms. And of course, finally, strategic communication. You know, there are some aspects of reputational damage which you might decide not to respond to. There are those aspects of reputational damage which maybe you need to now as a board reflect on and have a proper communication strategy, maybe in form of a circular, in form of a memo, or in form of any mechanism which you need to do to help you protect your image as a Sacco. And you will allow me to use a practical, I don't always like using practical examples of institutions, but you'll allow me on this. Like I would wish to say, I know we are all affiliated to Cusco by one way or another, and of course I know there are Cusco leaders here. I had a feeling that for the last 1 year or so, as Cusco, we must have failed in our reputational risk protection strategy, because there were a lot of negative perception which were coming out, which were not being handled in a strategic manner. And of course, that has had implications on them, which wouldn't have had, some of them wouldn't have happened if they had a proper reputational risk management strategy by identifying their exposures and trying to handle that. I'm not saying that there was failure in leadership in Cusco, but I'm saying that maybe the strategy, because there were aspects of all manner of rumors flowing, some which are unnecessary perceptions, but they were not well attacked or defended at any given point in time. And once a rumor has flown without a counter of the same, it holds. So, what do we need to do as far as reputation is concerned? These are the following issues we need to do in a reputation risk management framework. Identify your reputation risk exposures and create a reputation defense strategy. Ensure that there is coordinated mechanisms of responding or of monitoring all publics. Whether they are WhatsApp forums where your members thrive, whether they are Twitter spaces, whether they are grapevine which are flowing across your membership, always at any given point in time, create a mechanism which will enable you monitor. And I'm not saying that you're going to use same mechanism for all of us. We all have different capacities, our context or complexity of our businesses or the reach of our membership. Some are regional SACCOs, some are nationwide, some are maybe focused on a particular segment of society and all that. So each and every SACCO needs to have a mechanism through which they're going to manage their reputational risk exposures. And as such, that will help you manage that. To conclude overall on risk management before we go to business continuity planning, in the interest of time, leaders, let us remind ourselves of this. That one, you need to appreciate at strategic level the nature and types of major risks which your SACCO is exposed to. That is important. Number two, we have said that you need to allocate sufficient time at strategic level. What are petty things? At strategic level, you need to allocate sufficient time to risk management. Number three, you need to create an appropriate level of awareness within the entire SACCO. What do I mean? That as SACCOs, you need to have at any given year, financial year, to have a risk awareness session across your entire staff structures. That each and every person within the SACCO appreciates or understands the role they have towards playing risk management. And then ensure there are risk management procedures within your SACCO at all given times or policies. We all have different contexts, we all have different sizes as SACCOs, and as such, I am not saying that what applies to Solutions or what applies to Boresha or what applies to Imarika or Tabasamu will be the same. We are all different, we have different financial muscles. Apply your risk management frameworks based on your capacity. There's no one fits it all. All of us needs to just develop a risk management framework or strategy guided by the nature, the size, and complexity of our business. But most importantly, you need to ensure that you manage risks at all given times. I know, like Mwalimu National, I know they at board level, they have a risk and compliance committee of the board, right? And of course, for all SACCOs who are deposit taking. There are those of us who have not created an appreciation of risk and compliance issues at board level. Most of those who are not deposit, who do not have front office. It is always ideal that at board level you give a focus, significant focus of risk management, and ensure that in each and every board paper that there is a discussion and engagement on matters, risk and risk management. To finalize, I think I would wish to stop on that for the interest of time so that we go to business continuity, and then that will be the end of our discussion for the day. Any question or any comment? Okay, now, I just want us now to take it very shortly in discussing business continuity and crisis management. The fact that you manage risks in your SACCO or you have a risk management framework leaders does not mean that you will not get exposed to risks. Risk management is all about mitigation of risks or avoidance of risks to acceptable levels which are within your SACCO's risk appetite, which you can withstand in the event of an exposure. But there will always be unavoidable circumstances which may expose you to significant risks without your control, outside your control as a board. What do you need to do? In the event that you get exposed to risks which are significant and are outside your control, then you are not going to sit there and wait to die a natural death. You have to fight back. And you have to fight back only if you have a prearranged capacity, a prearranged framework to help you withstand those significant risk exposures which you hadn't expected before. And illustrations of significant risk exposures you can get exposed to which you didn't plan include the following. Issues of bank runs. Bank runs. I explained what bank run is, isn't it? When as a SACCO, you all of a sudden there is a significant negative publicity in the market and you are having a bank run. Do you have a mechanism to withstand that? Maybe you have robust core banking systems or applications, whether it's Navisio or whichever, T24 or whichever core banking application you're using. And it is compromised. It's not like it is 100%. There are instances when it will be compromised and your data is infiltrated or your data is compromised. Do you have mechanisms which will enable you respond in continuity with your business? I liked the introduction by the CEO. Where's the CEO of Solution Sacco? CEO of Solution Sacco? Step out. There's something about continuity which he highlighted to us which was very critical. What was it? Succession planning. Some of us, SACCOs, your IT office is only one. He exits and he goes with all passwords. And you wake up one evening and start looking at each other. Now, sasa tufanye aje? Sasa tufanye aje? Ameenda na password, ameenda na kila kitu, na ame-encrypt database. Because as an institution, you didn't envisage that is possible. In business continuity management and disaster recovery planning is all imagining about the unimaginable which might happen to your SACCO and trying to simulate what will happen in the event that happens. You know, most of us, when we talk about business continuity or disaster recovery planning, we only think about fire. We only think about fire. And then once we do the fire drills, we say, tick. We are good to go. Why is it no longer important? Yes, it is, but it's no longer the only key issue. There are various aspects of significant risk exposures which are likely to impact you, which you need to simulate and prepare for their likely hitting or their likely chance that they're going to crystallize in your circle, and prepare on how you're going to respond on them. I know, like the current systemic risk we're having in the industry right now, a majority of us did not prepare on it. We will maybe asking ourselves that, how do we do now? How are we going to respond or react to this? And because we may not have had or prepared a business continuity plan, they're likely to harm us. So most importantly, we need to prepare, and that is what we're discussing here under business continuity and disaster recovery planning. So, disaster crisis management and disaster recovery plan ensures that your SACCO responds effectively to any moments of crisis, such as cyber attack, loss of critical staff, or exogenous factors which are now without the SACCO's control. You simulate and imagine. It's not like you want it to happen, that in the event that it happens, do we have proper shock absorbers, preparatory mechanisms which are going to enable us to withstand that particular moment and be able to continue with minimal disruptions to our services, or minimal disruption to our products, or minimal disruption to ability to continue serving our members. So, some of the things we need to do in business continuity are the following. So, some of the 4 critical activities we need to do in business continuity planning. Number 1 is prevention. Prevention. And prevention is basically risk management. Prevention, and I said prevention is basically risk management. As in, reimagine, prepare, simulate that this risk will occur and prepare for it. Manage the risks. Number 2, preparedness. That is, number 1 is prevention, number 2 is preparedness. Preparedness is what we call business impact analysis. Business impact analysis. That once, as much as you have done the mechanisms to help you to prevent, there is a chance that some aspects of significant risk exposures will still crystallize. So you prepare to withstand that. You just don't leave yourself exposed that because we prevented ourselves, it's not likely to occur. No, risks will still crystallize, however robust your risk management mechanisms are. So prepare for likely impact. And the reason why you are preparing for likely impact, that in the event that they crystallize, you can still come out of it, even if you will be wobbling, but you will still withstand that. You are resilient enough to continue with your processes. Number 3 is respond. And in respond, that is what we call incident response plan. That you have an incident response plan. Do you have an incident response plan that in the event that a significant risk exposure, data breaches, a fire exposure, a critical staff exiting your SACCO through natural means or maybe moving to greener pastures, will you wait until you get a new IT officer to crack the passwords or to help recover your databases? Or do you have a incident impact analysis mechanism which will help you wake up and continue, dust yourself and continue as if nothing happened? And finally is recovery plan. Have a recovery plan for your SACCO. Critical areas for resilience, critical areas for business resilience and impact analysis which you need to have in place. I want us to look at the 10 critical areas which we need to factor as we prepare. Number one is business continuity or continuity of operations. Business continuity or continuity of operations. In all circumstances, create a mechanism for business continuity within your SACCO, regardless of the nature, type, or complexity of risk exposure. At least at the very minimal, let your operations not come at standstill. Let your operations continue. Let your operations continue. If maybe it is your head office which has been hit and all your data is compromised, do you have a mechanism to enable you pick up maybe from a branch or from a remote location and recover your data and continue the operation? That's just one aspect of business continuity which I'm talking about, continuity of your operations. There are other mechanisms when we talk about continuity of your operations, including the human resource component of it. That if that critical officer, the CEO, the chief auditor leaves, the operations in that functionality of the SACCO going to continue with minimal disruption. The next one is critical environment. Critical environment. As a SACCO, appreciate which are your critical environments or critical processes and prepare for them.